and welcome to another episode of Pivot and Prosper. I'm your host, Joe Nahe from LFG Business Group. This is a podcast where we speak with entrepreneurs, business owners, and C-suite executives in the marketing industry to hear their stories with relentless perseverance. Today, I have the joy of introducing Rebecca Lombardo from Washington, D.C. She's the founder of Rebecca Lombardo Agency as a fractional CMO and has been in the marketing industry for over 25 years. What does she do? Well, she works in the hospitality industry with travel rentals and boutique hotels, and has a superpower in mentoring young women in their marketing roles. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining me here today.
You go. Thanks, Rob.
Awesome. Well, we had a great conversation before I pressed record here, and I'm really excited to share more about what you do. Again, your superpower and mentoring and the industry and what you've kind of been seeing in your entrepreneurial growth journey, if you will. So let's kind of kick off here with the first question. Tell me about your current role and what problem your business solves and what you've created as the solution to that problem.
So I'm a fraction chief marketing officer. And the problem that I'm solving is where we've got a lot of companies in the growth stage who either can't afford to or don't know that they want to bring in a marketer at the C-suite level. So they've got these great leaders in president, CEO roles, and they've got very ambitious marketers, and there's a huge gap in between. So I'm connecting the dots.
I love it. Excellent. And you said the problem that most companies are seeing in that role. I mean, I know with the fractional CMOs I speak with often now, it seems like when they go to that business, they see the CEO and they either have an idea of marketing, know they need it, or have no clue on marketing. And they're thinking, well, I need direction here. Or other times they think they know everything about marketing and try and help guide you. Has that been a kind of a struggle in working with a lot of companies, or do you feel like it's pretty smooth sailing getting you in?
I think a lot of them come in saying, I don't know what I don't know. So they're willing to listen. But I think that there's a bit of a misunderstanding when it comes to what the actual problem is. They keep assuming it's marketing, or they keep assigning things that don't work to marketing, when occasionally it actually can be leadership or the culture within the company itself.
Couldn't agree more. A common thing I hear there is the customer service aspect in that business there. And customer service is not a department. It should be the entire company that cares for the people that need them, right? So talk to me about the spark that got you involved in this industry. I know we talked a little about this before, but I'm really excited for you to share more on that.
So I started out as a chief marketing officer for a national photography company that did real estate photography, but also vacation rental photography. And of course, I started right before COVID, and they said, oh, don't worry, you'll learn everything you need to know in this industry by going to the conferences. And then all the conferences were canceled. So what ended up happening was, and my background is software, right? I worked for software companies that did marketing. And so I knew a lot about technology and working at great software companies, SaaS companies. But this time I was, in lockdown, responsible for revenue growth at a company where I was just starting to learn about the industry. Would you believe that people spent hours talking to me, educating me, telling me the inside scoop on the vacation rental industry? I mean, they just took time out of their day. They didn't even know me. They just knew what company I worked for. They knew that I was new. And I could not believe the generosity that I saw coming from people within this industry. I'd never experienced anything like it before. So when the events started firing back up again, and I actually got to meet some of these people in person, and it's a relationship-driven business and industry. So when I finally got to meet them and see what great people they were, I was like, I am never leaving this industry.
That's amazing. Well, you found your niche, your vertical there, right? And it connected with the people well. It sounds like it fell into place nicely. Was that always the industry or area that you wanted to focus in, or you were in photography, right? In that kind of realm too. Was this kind of like, I didn't see this coming or wanted something completely different, or?
Honestly, I didn't even know this industry really existed as such.
Wow.
But it was a perfect fit because I do have a background as being a travel writer. I was a travel writer for Huffington Post, and traveled internationally, for a long time. Was one of the first backpack journalists in a major broadcast network. So going into this industry, it made sense. I just didn't really realize it was out there.
Amazing. That's fantastic. What would you say that you've struggled with the most while operating in your current role?
So the thing that I've struggled with the most in my current role has actually been the invoicing. Getting the math right and focusing on the details around receipts is not my forte. Um, and I didn't want to outsource that until I felt like I understood it myself first, so that once I did outsource it, I could catch anything that went wrong. And I feel that way about pretty much everything.
Hmm.
Not just invoicing. So I would say that's been the biggest hurdle.
I totally get it. And in growing a business, right, there's accounting, finance, sales, there's all these departments, right? And from so many leaders, I've heard the same type of thing. And I agree exactly with what you said as well, too. There's the mindset of, well, I don't know it, so I'll hire someone that does know it, and I continue not to know anything about it. And then commonly what does happen is, well, I can get taken advantage of because I don't know. I have no clue. Or, as you said, I at least have a high level view of what's going on. I know if something's not right, out of whack, whatever, without having to micromanage it. It all makes sense. You could talk to it at the dinner table without being an expert, right?
Right.
Which I totally agree. Totally agree. And in those, that's a good thing, right? What you mentioned right there. Well, it's better to be chased. The biggest struggle to be sending out invoices, having people pay, right, as opposed to chasing new clients and trying to get them to close.
Right. Right.
So what? Go ahead.
I'd say unfortunate in that area.
Yeah, which is great. You're talking about your referral base and having people coming to you, which going off of, hey, how this all started, right? If our discussion of if you're good to the people and if you care about them and you focus on helping their business more than the monetary value that it brings back to you, ultimately you'll have everyone will have the same success that you've had and continue to grow, where they're just like, this person cares, which how often do you hear that much anymore? You hear those words, but the actual emotion, knowing that it's real, I feel like is been disappearing a lot.
Yeah, definitely. You can't not care. I mean, your integrity in this industry shines through because the industry is so small. Your actions when no one's looking, like all of that kind of stuff, it really comes out in the end. So it is important.
Couldn't agree more. I love it. What would you say are some of the key skills or bits of knowledge that have been most important for your success in the next few years?
So I would say one of the key skills is listening. I think a lot of people take that for granted because they're like, and I heard you. Like, there's this thing called active listening. There's actually, that's really good. Being an active listener, I think I got this training when I was a journalist, was thinking about not only, what are they saying, but what are those motivations, where are they coming from, in order to provide an accurate proposal, in order to connect with people. You really got to truly hear them and they want to be heard. And not a lot of people can stop with their own mind thoughts at the moment to actually listen to what the other person is saying. So that is a huge skill. That is something that AI is not going to replace. So I do believe, technology, obviously, or the tools around technology are really important to constantly keep up with. But I do think being an active listener, caring, and follow up. Gosh, why is that so hard for a lot of people?
I get it. I see it all day long. I agree. But your point is right. I'm glad you said that too. Listening in that aspect, and it was that being one of many areas where, in my journey as a individual, but also a business owner, entrepreneur, one component I'm always trying to grow and be better at, one aspect, if you will. And it's talked about more and more. And you're exactly right. Everyone's favorite topic is themselves. And when they feel like they've been heard and that recognition back, what does this all come back to, right? The personality feel, the personalized aspect of communication of know, like, trust, breaking those down, all the above. And instead of, you're right, AI, there's no, thanks, Joe, I heard what you said. Here's a breakdown, right? There's okay, yeah, I know you're a tool, but when the value of, it sounds like you're having this type of problem and this has been real frustrating for you. I hear you. I'd love to help and provide a solution to lift that weight off your shoulders. Would that be of value to you? Those type of things. It's amazing, especially on sales calls, as I learned through the years of, I'm sure it's the same thing as well too, hopping on and, okay, well, if I change how I talk or how often I talk or how much I let them talk and I show I'm listening, the dynamic of the call changes. whether they're a lead, they're a prospect, they're a client, all the above. And just people in general, not even work, right? My wife, all the above.
Yes.
Totally agree. I think it should be spoken of more often. More people should be listening to the fact that they should be listening.
Especially with everybody being remote, or being on video conferencing. I think everyone's kind of afraid of a pause or a moment of silence where like nobody's talking, but there are some people who, unless there is that break in the conversation, won't continue on or won't say more. And what I've found, especially with talking to a lot of people that I'm not looking at yet, is that if you just give them like a 5-second break, like before you respond, they might actually keep going. And then you learn a ton of stuff about them that they didn't tell the other candidate for the role. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this approach.
I agree. That's one thing. Again, another component where it's easy to keep discussing on that topic or not thinking, okay, they're done with it. And I have a habit of when I'm in a conversation back and forth, like the gears will be turning and I'm in silence for a few moments, right? I'm thinking. And what's just after that, I feel like it's going to be a good response. But many times it's, back, forth. And did the true value really come out into the conversation? But
yeah, it's hard to be your host like us, right?
Yeah, right. But again, this is a tool that it's never 100% sharpened, and it's one that we're constantly every year. I hope to become a better and better listener and communicator, and there's as long as that keeps improving, I'm happy. That's one of the many tools, right? Now, with that in mind, now that's a key level of, not only education, but just knowledge brought here on us talking back and forth, I think is valuable for me and the listeners, of course, but also the educational aspect of books, learning, education, what we've picked up over the years in the industry, not only in marketing, but in just the skill sets to be a good entrepreneur as a whole. So talk to me about, are there any books or resources that have inspired you for your entrepreneurial growth? And what are they?
Sure. So I will say that in order to be a successful marketer or a great marketer, you have to think like the CEO of a company. And the more you can think like the CEO, the better marketer you'll be. And so I have found the book Good to Great to be very inspiring. It talks about like getting the right people on the bus and getting those people in the right seats. And then I also love Measure What Matters. Because a lot of times in marketing, we're looking at the metrics that a platform gives us, and then we're just kind of regurgitating it back to leadership. When what we should be doing is curating the metrics, curating the data, and explaining to leadership what story that data tells, instead of just regurgitating the metrics that are in the Meta business platform or in the GA4 platform.
Yeah.
That's just their metrics. What you're trying to do is curate the data, tell a story to leadership about where you're going and where you've been. So love Measure What Matters. That's super helpful in that fashion. There's also a book called Creativity Inc. By Ed Trammell. Love that as well. I actually grew up in Central Florida, so the influence of Walt Disney was all around all the time. But what it did was kind of inspire me to think beyond what was in front of me to what could be in a very artist-like fashion. I'm always like, that could be better. That could be better.
Sure.
So that book kind of helps me think through what that looks like in the business world and entrepreneurship.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. I think those levels there of, even if for myself or anyone, if there's one page of any of these books that could bring great value to the success I have in just my life and business moving forward, then the book is a win, right? Even if it's just one page, one paragraph, one sentence. So heck, reading the whole thing could be the greatest next step in journey of the next quarter. Who knows, right? So those are 3 books I haven't read or listened. I do Audible, but I look forward to reading those, and I'll recap back and let you know what I think.
Okay.
But I certainly appreciate that. Great. Now, looking forward into the future, what trends do you believe will redefine the industry in the next 10 years, let's say?
So it's hard to say over the next 10 years. I actually am a freelance writer for CMS Wire, and they asked me the same thing. Go out and write an article about marketers over the next 10 years. And would you believe that, like, out of all the people I interviewed for that article, none of them who were marketers, chief marketing officers, wanted to give me a forecast over a 10-year span. They all said that the pace of changing is happening so quickly that it's virtually impossible to guess 10 years out. So they were willing to give me a 3 to 5 year outlook, but none of them were
Yeah,
giving
I
me
like
10.
it.
So yeah, the pace of change will continue to increase exponentially, but I think that what we're going to start seeing is the form of communication and the way that we consume and digest information is going to force us as just humans to have to change and learn to filter out and block certain things that all has become, it's already started to become like white noise. So I think that the way that we see the world, the way that we digest it, the way that we, share it is actually going to have to kind of go retro. So because we're becoming, so focused on technology and it's becoming so integrated in our lives, that anything that retros back to IRL, or anything like that, I think is going to increase in pace with the technology. Whereas before I felt like the technology was kind of outpacing the tactile experiences in life, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely makes sense. 100%. Yeah, I think you're right. 10 years out is, hey, we could take guesses, right? And who knows what augmented reality is going to be like. Of course, AI is going to continue to grow and scale and what that even looks like. But the you said those words earlier, especially in that book, the creativity aspect is going to be, I think, more marketers are going to stand out the more that they think outside the box and use creative thinking. Probably reading that book from Walt Disney, right? The book, it's called Creative, is that right? Or Creativity?
Creativity.
Yes. I mean, that methodology, as opposed to the cookie cutter methods that we see so much today, the outside the box stuff is really going to be disruptive, I guess, if you will, in the market. But it's to have that mindset, I think, and I think you kind of nailed it in a couple of topics you brought up earlier as well too. It's where can you pivot your mind to think beyond the norm and connect with your audience, connect with people who are coming in, connect with the CEO, understand the CEO, as well as what he's trying to portray, what his vision is, what his strategy is, and kind of move from there. And another thing that stuck in my head too of what you said earlier, because I was listening, was an analogy I heard, which related well to what you said, was in accounting and finance, right? Two people driving a car down the road. Finance guy is behind the wheel. Accounting person is in the passenger seat. Accounting is looking out the back window the whole time. That's what happened here. That's what happened here. Okay, look, yep, the road was still straight. They're not looking ahead. Finance is just looking ahead. Look at the roads going, dips and turns. This forecast this way, et cetera. And accounting is looking at the KPIs that have already happened, right? And just as you said too, instead of reporting on, hey, here's a GA4 KPI dashboard that tells you this, and this, here's your conversions of blah, blah, blah. Let's take all that data, help with the conversions, think way ahead. Let's think of, where's the CEO's mind? Where's his strategy at? Where's the big milestones, the dream? And how can we connect that with a really good marketing leader, you and team that's brought in to achieve those results? That's what kept going through my head as you continue to talk, was that like analogy of connecting those dots and having that car drive in the right direction and continue to, right?
Yeah, it's definitely like a combination of like, let the history inform the navigation, but don't let the history drive the navigation, to your point.
You said it. I love it. I'll have to pull that line out and make a quote thing for LinkedIn for it then. I love it. One of my favorite questions here, suppose you're given the opportunity to mentor either a young entrepreneur, maybe even it's you years ago as a child, right? And you could give them one piece of advice, maybe two or three, right? What words of wisdom would you give that individual and why?
So I would say, well, a couple answers to that. One is to trust your gut, be able to hear your gut. Take the time to be in a position where you can hear what your gut is trying to tell you, because it is usually right. And to the younger me, I would probably say be bold, just be bold, and trust yourself a bit more, because I think that, and maybe it's just because of like when women try to put themselves forward at companies or when women try to do stuff on their own, I remember the term that I was called was overconfident. Rebecca's overconfident. Like, really, really. So yeah, that's interesting. I wonder who'd said that if I was a guy, like who's 29 years old and very firm in what she's seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, just be bold and listen to your gut would be my advice.
I love it. I love it. Strong words of wisdom from Rebecca here. I certainly appreciate it. And your fractional CMO business here, your agency, got started not too long ago. And look at the success you've been able to achieve so far. But again, this goes off of those core principles and even what you said earlier, that by listening well, understanding your client well, communicating well with the CEO, and then, well, hey, just empowering women in these roles in marketing as a whole and just getting them understanding of the industry and like, you've got to be bold, go for it, right? Trust your gut, all the above, everything you just said. Hey, all those combined, big win. How could you go wrong?
Well, sometimes you. And
Yeah, right.
it's where, and actually, like I tell companies, I'm like, yeah, for 25 years worth of experience, a lot has gone wrong, right? But that's what I'm bringing to the table is to guide you away from those things. So you can learn from my mistakes. Your company can benefit from everything that I know what happens when it goes sideways. So this is the value of having a fractional CMO at this tenure.
Excellent. Well, Rebecca, I can't thank you enough for your time and speaking with me here today. It's been great to learn more about you, your entrepreneurial journey, the successes you've had, the areas of learning, books, all the above, et cetera. I can't wait to share that with more and others and for even myself to take notes and to continue to educate myself on that factor. So I really, again, appreciate your time. This has been fantastic learning about you and your company. I'm going to list below in the description the website to your company if people want to get a hold of you. And of course, your LinkedIn, link to your LinkedIn so people can find and follow and connect with you if so need be. But again, thank you so much for your time. And I truly appreciate you speaking with me here today.
Thanks, Joe. This was great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.